Excellent. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Inês. Okay, I want to ask you this one last question, although I'm not sure how you'll react to it. Are you familiar with the philosopher Slavoj Žižek? I know he's an interesting figure.
Not recently. I've read his work many years ago, so
Yeah.
I'm not so sure.
Okay, so he has this interesting take. So he wrote a book called Hegel and a Wired Brain. It's a fascinating book on just Neuralink and the idea of a lot of the things that you explore. But he's highly speculative because he's an Hegelian. But I'm wondering if I show you a video by him where he kind of has this critique of AI, what your thoughts would be. So is it okay if I just show you something by him?
Absolutely, yes, please.
He's asked this question about AI, and I'll play it here. And then I'm just curious to hear what your thoughts are on what he says.
Hello. How do I say this? I partly apologize because this isn't something that has been actually in discussion during this event, but during the sort of summary at the beginning, part of the discussion points were the future of AI.
Artificial intelligence, you mean? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry.
What are your thoughts particularly on cases of AI such as large neural networks and large language models, specifically such as Google's Lambda AI that have been claiming sentience within themselves? And ultimately, is your thoughts on the future of AI something that artificial sentience could eventually be something that could come into fruition?
It's difficult for me to give you a precise answer because, again, this is minimally a topic for another long talk, so I can only give you, a very general answer. I don't like this game of, I'm not accusing you of it, but generally in the debates on AI. You know, it's all about, we people are obviously limited. Will artificial intelligence become more intelligent than we are, and so on? To be as brief as possible, I don't see the problem of artificial intelligence in its being more bright than we, but in not being stupid in the way we humans can be. What I think is unique for us humans is to be stupid in a proper way, so that you make something or say something stupid, but then you get the message through this very stupidity, another dimension opens up to you. So I would rather say that, of course, we have now already computers which are self-learning, change, adapt to rules, but they still take mistakes as something to be overcome. They don't see the, let's call it the productivity, the capacity to open up a new space of the mistake as such. To make it a little bit clearer, what I mean, in my book on Hegel and the Wired Brain, I use these examples. It's a disgusting movie. I hate the actors, everybody, but you saw, I'm afraid to mention it, 4 weddings at the funeral. You know, but nonetheless, you know that scene when Hugh Grant declares love to Andy McDowell, I think, and in his own fake way, he gets confused, stutters, blah, blah, blah. But in this way, he succeeds in declaring love. If he were to say it clearly, how he loves her, it would be a fake. So you see how the mistake as such renders the message. Now I enter a very complex domain of what John Elster, a pretty good Norwegian theorist of rational action, calls states which are necessarily byproducts. For example, I wrote about this in a text that was published in one of your philosophical monthly journals, Philosophy Now or what. If I say I have dignity, it's self-defeating. Because if I say this, it's ridiculous. I must display dignity through the way I act. And the same goes for many of our acts, which you cannot. It is self-defeating if you directly talk about them. At this level, I try to circumscribe something that maybe, at least the way things stand now, artificial intelligence, I think, cannot do. Again, I repeat, not because we humans are brighter, but because we humans learned to use in a productive way our stupidity, our limitation itself. But I'm sorry, maybe now it would be too much to go into this.
Not sure if any of them made sense, but what are your thoughts, Inês?
Wow. So quite interesting perspective that that it brings in. For sure, I agree that artificial intelligence systems are not the kind of natural intelligence that we would think about when we think about human beings or even non-human animals' cognition. Interesting that it brings in stupidity. Indeed, it is part of our practices, and I think that's the concept that here I would focus more. I would bring more the difference of the ways in which you have artificial intelligence systems and you have natural intelligence, let's call it like that. They differ in the ways that natural intelligence systems, they engage in practices, they're highly situated with the world that allow for certain kinds of mistakes to occur as well and learning from the mistakes because we are dealing with a highly uncertain world and trying to adjust, continuously adjusting to this highly uncertain world. And for some more less complex systems, like non-human animals or plant cognition, those worlds can be uncertain from the very natural sense of the environment that is uncertain, so the uncertainty comes from that. In our specific case, because we somehow developed this sophisticated form of intelligence that separates us apart from non-human cognition, which is like the capacity in which we have developed a whole civilization with all of these institutions and organizations that we have built, that means that comes from highly sophisticated practices that we engage with, and we've been able to navigate the uncertainties of the environment in quite refined ways, which include social cultural practices within all of these power dynamics, etc., etc. So in a way, I think that I would say that we can be very stupid, but we are also highly sophisticated in the ways that we were able to build all of these institutions for us and around us. So I would say that it is on our practices that resides that difference.
Yeah, and I think it connects a lot again to what we discussed about, Simone de Beauvoir and
Absolutely.
the idea of embeddedness. It's fascinating. Yeah, thank you for humoring me with that because Žižek I find him fascinating. I love reading his books, but of course, to get to what he's saying, it takes a bit of, it takes, I'd say, being a part of his language game to see where he's coming from. Fascinating.